What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Yazoo. And we're going back to their debut album again, working our way through it, more than halfway through now. We're going to listen to a tune called Goodbye 70s, which I don't remember this by name. Again, I did have this on cassette tape, and even though I think a couple of the tunes were what I spent most of my time listening to, there's been a couple others so far where once it started, it was like, okay, yes, this I do recall this to a certain degree. So we'll have to see about that. I'm interested by the name. You know, I am aware that at the beginning of the 80s, you know, I was a super little kid, not old enough to really, you know, understand the world or think about things in any deliberative manner. But my understanding is that in many ways, culturally, economically, and so on, people were keen to kind of move past the crises, you know, gas and, you know, economic crises of the 70s, and I do believe there was a desire to turn the page, and again, not just in terms of economics or politics. I know there were a lot of people who felt like, you know, disco had been sort of like overexposed, and you know, they were keen to sort of like, you know, move into new musical avenues and so on. You know, there's a lot to say about that, I think, culturally and socially. But when I see the name Goodbye 70s, that sort of comes to mind, this idea that like in the early 80s, you know, it was and the way that, you know, the way that people think about decades, and humans sort of understand temporal periodization is ultimately, you know, sort of, you know, culturally linked and based on, you know, over homogenized and oversimplified understandings of, you know, trends and processes and similarities and so on, which is to say that, you know, at the end of the day, 81 was much more like 79 than it was like 89, but people will say the 80s and they get all sorts of stereotypes and connotations in their head, and that's, you know, these clear cut, you know, very discrete categories, when in fact, you know, for a number of reasons, you know, it's far more complicated. But that is what comes to mind when I see the name Goodbye 70s as we listen to a canine outside. Nevertheless, let's get to it. This is Goodbye 70s by Yazoo on their album Upstairs at Eric's, 1982 on Mute or Sire if you're in the US like me. And here we go. Not ringing a bell, really. But I like it. I like the sort of kind of metallic grit of that layer. The bass line's like, ooh, it's got sort of like a bubble flourish. This is great. That's kind of a driving, serious quality. Trend setting in your head. This is great. And that little bubble is very acidy, even if it's not a 303 proper. You hear that kind of like, it's like this woodwind-esque kind of like atmospheric layer. Get out of here. I was not prepared for those vocal flourishes. I mean, this is on the level of like Situation and Don't Go for me. Even if it doesn't have quite the like iconic, like melodic riff. Again, that this is genius. This is one of my favorites. You could dance to this, I'll tell you that. I do like that almost like tribal vocal. I don't know what you would call that. A shout. That was a very prominent tune. I really enjoyed that. Wow. Didn't know what to expect, but yeah, there was a lot of interesting sonics. Lyrically, again, I'm not quite sure exactly what was going on, but the chorus of Goodbye 70s, my goodness, did she knock that out of the park with the vocals. Yeah, so let me know if you got an angle on this tune, you know, exactly kind of what ideas are being expressed, although again, it does make me think of what Han Solo has said about Vince Clarke's productions, is that ultimately, you know, he sees the music as far more important than the words, so if it's articulating a feeling or a sentiment, I think that would be, you know, what he would want you to key in on more than any particular line. But yeah, still, let me know if you have an idea of what they're talking about there, and yeah, big shout out to Alison Moyet again with that voice. Again, Yazoo has such an interesting sound because it's these great kind of, you know, early mid 80s like synth pop grooves, but with this voice that is just unlike anything else. It's just unbelievable. So yeah, let me know what you think about that one. Let me know if you're interested to hear any of the remaining tunes as I get through the rest of the album, or if there's something on You and Me Both that you're particularly excited for me to get to as I work through that album as well. Other than that, thank you for listening and watching. I will see you next time.